Seoul had a way of wrapping itself in lights and shadows at the same time. By day, the city buzzed with the energy of crowded subway stations, cafe chatter, and the scent of roasted chestnuts drifting from street vendors. By night, neon signs painted the streets in pinks and blues, while couples walked hand in hand under the glow of lanterns. It was a city alive with stories, waiting to be told. Aaliyah had never thought she would call this place home, even temporarily. She was a young woman from Atlanta, Georgia, confident, creative, and curious. Teaching English in Seoul had started as a one-year contract, an adventure she wanted to take before graduate school. But the city had drawn her in with its rhythm, its food, its music, and its people. Every morning she walked through the small alleyways near her apartment, breathing in the scent of fresh bread from the bakery below, hearing the chatter of neighbors who recognized her now with a friendly nod. And yet, despite the adventure, there were moments she felt alone. The cultural gap was wide at times, the language barrier heavy. Some days she missed home, the comfort of hearing her grandmother's voice at Sunday dinners, the familiar sound of gospel playing from passing cars. Still, she reminded herself, she hadn't come here to stay in her comfort zone. On the other side of the city, Min-jun was used to the rhythm of Seoul. He was 31, a software developer who had built his life around quiet discipline. To his co-workers, he was reliable and intelligent. To his family, he was the eldest son, expected to marry soon to carry traditions forward. Yet, despite his success, something in his life felt unfinished, like a melody waiting for the right harmony. He spent many evenings sitting in a small tea shop tucked behind a bookstore near Gwanghwamun Square. It wasn't the most popular place, but he liked it there. The quiet hum of the kettle, the warmth of the wooden tables, the way time seemed to slow down. It was his escape from the noise of the city. Neither Aaliyah nor Min-jun knew that fate was preparing their paths to cross. One, a woman chasing adventure in a foreign land. The other, a man who thought he knew his world until someone would step into it and change everything. And it would all begin on a rainy evening in Seoul, when the sound of falling water on cobblestones would bring them under the same roof at the same moment, as if the city itself had decided their story should start. The rain came without warning. One moment, the sky over Seoul was a calm silver, and the next, it cracked open with a sudden downpour. People rushed under umbrellas, darting into shops and cafes, huddling together beneath bus stop shelters. Aaliyah, of course, hadn't packed an umbrella. She laughed softly at herself, clutching her tote bag as she jogged through the narrow street. Her hair clung to her face, damp curls framing her warm brown skin. She spotted a small glow of light ahead, a tea shop with wide wooden doors and golden lanterns swaying gently outside. With no other choice, she slipped inside, shaking rainwater from her sleeves. The shop smelled of jasmine and honey. It was quiet, with only a few tables occupied. Behind the counter, a young woman greeted her warmly in Korean. Aaliyah managed a shy nod, her Korean still halting, and pointed toward the menu on the wall. After a brief exchange, she settled near the back, grateful for the warmth. At another table, Min-jun looked up from his book. With no other choice, she slipped inside, shaking rainwater from her sleeves. Her presence lit the room in a way he couldn't explain. He had seen foreigners in Seoul before, but this woman looked both confident and a little lost, as if she were balancing two worlds. Aaliyah tried to dry her hands with a napkin, then laughed at herself again. She felt a pair of eyes on her and glanced up, meeting his gaze. For a moment, neither of them looked away. Min-jun's expression was calm, but his eyes held curiosity. She offered a small, polite smile. He nodded back before quickly lowering his gaze to his book, though the words on the page blurred. A few minutes later, fate decided to nudge them closer. The tea shop owner approached Aaliyah with a gentle apology, explaining in broken English that there had been a mix-up and her seat was reserved. She gestured toward the table by the window, right across from Min-jun. Leah didn't hesitate. She gathered her things, murmuring, "It's okay," softly, and slid into the seat near him. Now, with only a few feet between them, the silence grew heavy with possibility. It was Min-jun who finally broke it. And in that simple exchange, something stirred, like the first note of a song waiting to unfold. "You were caught in the rain, too?" he asked. Aaliyah looked up, surprised, but relieved. Yes, she said with a laugh. And I wasn't smart enough to carry an umbrella. The corners of his lips lifted slightly. Most people here always carry one. The weather changes quickly. I'm learning that the hard way, she said, shaking her head. I've only been here a few months. Something softened in his eyes. You are not from Seoul, he said, though it was more statement than question. No, she replied, smiling. Atlanta, the U.S. There was a pause, the sound of rain filling the space between them. Then he said simply, Welcome to Seoul. The words, though small, felt sincere. And in that simple exchange, something stirred, like the first note of a song waiting to unfold. After that rainy evening, Aaliyah found herself thinking about him more than she expected. She hadn't even caught his name until he stood to leave that night, bowing slightly before saying, I'm Min-jun. Aaliyah, she had replied, her voice soft but steady. The next time she visited the tea shop, she wasn't surprised to find him there again, book in hand, tea steaming gently at his side. What did surprise her was the way he seemed to be waiting, as though he half expected her to walk through the door. They began with small talk. She stumbled through bits of Korean, while he offered careful corrections and the occasional smile when she got it right. In return, she helped him with English idioms, laughing when he tested them out in overly serious tones. Their conversations stretched longer with each visit, until it became natural to share a table instead of sitting apart. One Saturday afternoon, Min-jun offered to show her the palace gardens. Aaliyah had seen them before, but never with someone who could explain their history. He spoke about kings and dynasties, about the careful placement of stones and trees. His voice carried pride, and she found herself listening not just to the words but to the warmth behind them. When she grew tired from walking, he bought her a hot drink from a street vendor, sweet cinnamon punch called sujongwa. She tried it with wide eyes. This is good, she said, surprised by the flavor. Why didn't you tell me about this before? He chuckled softly. Some things are better when they are a surprise. Over time, their rhythm deepened. They explored night markets, shared steaming bowls of tteokbokki, and laughed when she tried spicy food that made her eyes water. He learned about her love for music, how she missed the jazz and gospel rhythms of home. In turn, she learned about his quiet evenings, his close-knit family, and the pressure he felt as the eldest son. But it wasn't just cultural exchange. It was the little moments, the way she teased him for being too serious, the way he noticed when she grew quiet and asked, Are you okay? The way their shoulders brushed when they walked too close in crowded streets, neither moving away. One evening, as they stood on the Han River Bridge, the city lights shimmering on the water, Aaliyah felt something shift. The breeze carried the faint scent of grilled food from nearby vendors, but all she could notice was how close he was, his voice low as he pointed out landmarks across the skyline. She realized in that moment that Seoul no longer felt lonely. It felt alive. It felt like possibility. And Min-jun, with his gentle steadiness, had become a part of that possibility. What neither of them knew was that the sweetness of these moments would soon be tested. Because love across cultures carried not only beauty, but challenges they had yet to face.